Hey everyone, Logan Paulson here to let you know that the Command Center podcast has been selected to be a part of this year's People's Choice Podcast Awards. It's because of you, our Washington football family, that we do this show, and it's because of you that this podcast has skyrocketed the past year. I speak for both Tana and Fred when I say we are so grateful and appreciative of the love and support. That being said, let's win this People's Choice Award. For the month of July, go to www.podcastawards.com and register to vote. Then vote for this podcast in the sports category. The more votes we get, the better chance we have of winning. And with a fan base like ours, I believe we can show the Podcast Awards and the NFL that Commanders football and the Command Center podcast are ready to shock the world. For more information, check out the description for details. Thank you for your support and vote. And now, on with the show. On today's episode of Command Center Podcast, we talk the art of defense.
Yes.
Dan Quinn, Joe Witt Jr., the Legion of Boom until now. How has it changed? How is it different? Can't wait to see that. And how our guys fit in this thing. It all starts right now. Welcome to the Command Center Podcast. I'm Logan Paulson here with Santana Moss and Fred Spoot. And guys, we got some fun stuff going on in terms of uniform attire. Mm-hmm. We're going all gold pants.
Ooh, all gold.
And I don't know if you knew this about me, Fred. I don't have a lot of swag, Tana.
You don't.
In my uniform, in life, I wouldn't say.
You've been bringing a little.
Oh, I
bit
think Tana. That's why
table,
you're the man. But so I'm going to defer to you guys.
Lips to tell a lie.
How do we feel about the gold pants?
I love it.
Yeah.
I like gold anything. Like, that's the one color that we have that really nobody else in the NFL really can say this theirs.
Yeah.
Like that gold.
Well, 49ers?
Not really.
Well, the 49ers, the only people that can share it with us.
Well, I can't even say that because you got the Packers have gold pants.
Well, Packers kind of come off as yellow cheese.
First of all, we got to understand what color is the gold going to be, because I remember the last regime.
It was mustard.
It was like a mustard, but it was considered gold.
Gold, yeah.
So what are we wearing? Like, is it going to be like the gold throwback look pants, or is it going to be the mustard gold pants?
Is it going to be electric gold?
I think it's going to be the mustard gold pants, if you had to ask me. So
I hope it's the electric gold.
Yeah. So it's going to be like the same mustard yellow looking as gold.
Yeah.
And so now, if I had to comment on that, I'm always speak positively about it.
Yeah.
All I can say is that, hey, it don't really matter what color you wear. You know, you have to win games in it. You know what I mean? We have a ton of uniforms.
It's more fashion.
But if you're not winning in it, it's going to be a reason why they don't want to see it. And that's what happened with the last regime before Ron them got here. We wore those yellow pants almost every home game. We wore it. That was like our uniform. We wore the gold with the white or the maroon.
I feel say, would y'all be mad if we literally did one edition of gold everything, gold helmet, gold jersey, gold pants, gold man.
With like a red
number. All about how productive can you be when you throw on all these different,
Well, we know it's all about what you do.
I love how practical Tana is.
Yeah, bro. That's what I'm saying.
I
don't care. You can put on blue with a gold W on my thing, and we put on navy blue with a gold W, and we honor the damn Marines or whoever, whatever.
Whatever.
If you win, let me see it again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so let's take winning and losing out of it.
Okay.
Let's just put looks. Because for a long time, our jerseys, as classic as they were, they was hard for us to swag out. Yeah. Like, you can say what you want. They were.
I mean, no one told you to wear your sleeves like Darryl Green's and be hanging by your elbows.
I actually did that in honor of him.
Okay.
Because I used to always get on him about, like, won't you tighten them sleeves up?
You couldn't swag your thing out.
I did swag it up.
Speak for me.
No, I cut it like Prime, so I
came over here swaggy. Go pull up my first year. I came over here and showed them how to swag that thing
listen,
out.
I most definitely stepped out there looking like I work for Estee Lauder or somebody. I always look good. I just think the fans will get excited about, all right, I like the new look, new feel or something. So I'm never against how somebody look. Because I think some people look and feel and that make them play good.
Look, I'm all for the all black. We haven't won in them. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's all, to me,
I like the all
it's
blacks.
going to always go back to if we productive. Because if they not, I don't want to see it. You see what I'm saying? And that just
I do want to see the All Blacks again. It's time.
I would love to see it. You know what I'm saying? I want to see. I want every uniform to have something behind it that, oh man, when we wore them, well, I remember this game. Them boys did this, XYZ. Never wanted to be something in a losing fashion, though. You know what I'm saying? So that black kind of.
I guess you're kind of right, because I know some ugly jerseys that teams wore that I can't. They stuck in my head because they won in them. Like, as much as the Steelers, I hate the Steelers, but those Killer Bees, when they pull out them Killer Bees with the stripes, like like they play for the penitentiary league or something. Boy, it's something about them.
1930s.
Yeah, it's something about them.
I remember too, just since we talking about the gold, which now we know is going to be the mustard look, basically the same pants that I wore before I left here. It got to a point people got tired of. You know what I mean? Because we was wearing it so much. We wore it with everything. We wore it on the road. We wore it at home. We wore it with white jerseys. We wore it with maroon jerseys. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we wore it to the point to where it wasn't bringing us no luck, or it was just one of those things like you either gonna win in them or lose in them. So they didn't really have much to say about them. But I feel like here, when you start changing up the uniforms and have some consistency about your play when you win it, you know?
I do think like it's just kind of harkening back to a traditional look that we had here for a while with the yellow pants. I think that's always nice when they can kind of tie what the team is now with what it was before. I think that's always good to kind of give it a little bit of a modern twist. But again, like I said before, I don't really care about what we're wearing as long as we're playing good football and winning games.
No dress code, showed it.
And that's why Fred is our fashionista when it comes to football stuff. All right, so we got some housekeeping stuff. All right, just a reminder, we got the Hales Tales podcast, right? Guys, we had our first episode come out last week, Unsung Heroes of Super Bowl 22. That was awesome. Lots of interesting insight there. Doug Williams, we got Joe Gibbs on there. But now we've got our next one coming out, and that's the hiring of Joe Gibbs. And you better believe I want to hear all about that. Because you talk about building dynasties, like which hopefully we're kind of starting that now. That is one of the most pivotal hires. So
People don't understand it. Coach was an unknown when they hired him. He was not like he had already been on Tampa's coaching staff.
That's right.
And San Diego's coaching staff. That had they were the only people that had given him a chance. So he was an upstart, a young upstart. Think of Sean McVay when you think of him. He was that type of dude. Smart. And you know what? With this technology today, I really want to incorporate myself because I like to be around winners. Do you think I could computer generate myself in with the old dudes?
What do you mean?
Like when they showing old films of like the Super Bowl team, and all of a sudden you see my head pop around there like a number 20.
You can absolutely do that. I don't know if you can do that, but people can absolutely do that for you.
I want people to do that. Like I've always wanted to be a part of their team. You ain't never noticed when they do when they bring us all back to alumni weekend, I actually chill with D Green and like the 70s and 80s group. That's who I be with. Ray Brown, he was my dudes.
Well, he was around for a long time.
Yeah,
Ray played with everybody.
Yeah. Like you look at those pictures out there, he's in like everything.
Ray, 1932 Ray. All of it, Ray. 80s, Ray Brown.
Yeah, Ray.
He's been around for a minute. And same with, but anyway.
He played 20 plus years.
Yeah. So you can get that, where is that going to be, Jason?
Wherever you get your podcast. Just type in Hail Tales or Washington Football History. Yeah. It'll pop up. We'll also try and put links in the YouTube of this. Get into the description. We'll have a link there.
I mean, the first one was so good. I haven't heard the second one yet, but man, like, if you're, again, Commanders fans, you'll love it. Check it out.
Yeah, and just so you know, like, we got Joe Gibbs. He talks about it.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, he mentions, I didn't think I'd ever be a head coach.
The access that Hannah did on this thing and the research she did was awesome.
Yeah.
And it feels, the storytelling is great. It's just a really well done podcast. So definitely check it out. All right. And then, so now next big football thing is training camp. Okay. We don't have dates yet, but you can go to the website right now and get free tickets to training camp. We will be there doing our shows. We will be giving out free merch, shirts. So make sure you come out, come say hi to us, come check a show filming. Let's watch practice a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
We're all excited about the direction the organization, the team is going. Let's come out and see the beginnings of that thing. That's going to be pretty cool. So now that that's all taken care of, today is a podcast that I am very excited to talk about. And it's because it is a technical X's and O's style podcast about the nature of defense, specifically Joe Witt's defense. So we're going to kind of tier this out. We're going to start with like kind of general defensive principles, go to what makes Dan and Joe Witt Jr.'s defense so special, and then talk about how it fits our guys, just so you know the outline of the show, because it's going to be pretty technical. So let's start with the art of defense. And so I think at a basic point, basically, if I was going to define defense, and Fred, you can stop me, Tanny, you can stop me, it's you have to basically defend 53 yards of grass horizontally and approximately 40 yards of grass vertically. And so what we've chosen to do over the last 30 years of football is you have defensive linemen to kind of be predominantly run players and rush the passer. You have linebackers, which is the second level of defense, and the third level of defense, which is safeties and cornerbacks, right? those guys kind of play different coverage structures, different patterns to make sure you cover the grass and make sure that those front guys can fit the run when they need to fit the run. That's like defense at its probably
infancy,
most basic level.
Yeah,
you're defending grass and you're defending patterns that the offense is presenting.
And you also defending personnel. You're defending personnel bleeding in with scheme. What makes a great defense scheme is a scheme that no one of the 11 defensive players feel like they're left out for dry. Like when you see schemes where the defense is playing on the other side of the ball, meaning we are playing going the direction towards the offense instead of playing backwards, those are the most dominant defense. When they say aggressive, everybody say, hey, this is a defense that kind of sits back and bend and don't break, and this defense is a defense that kind of dictates terms. To me, the dictating term defense makes a offense adjust to them, and the opposite is a defense that adjusts to the offense. Yeah. If I'm going to bend but don't break, I'm going to adjust to you so I don't break. Well, if I'm going to dictate terms, I'm saying forget what you do. I'm going to shrink your playbook because of what we do. And
you're going to be the dictator.
We're going to dictate terms. And the Greg Williamses I played with, the Quinns, they have a way of making you say, nah, we got to take that out of our playbook this week. We can't do this against them. Like now you're starting to dictate terms. Now, if you got a team that says, you know what, they got a number one receiver in Santana, he can push us vertically. We might need to ease up our man. Now we're bending to your will.
Yeah, let me just double click on some stuff there. So we talked about general defensive stuff there, right? 3 levels of a defense. What Fred's talking about is then what makes defenses special and unique, right? Each week you have to adjust to what the offense is presenting. So if I'm a defense playing Kyle Shanahan, right? I know I got to defend outside zone, play action pass, the slip screen to Brandon Ayuk and Deebo
I always feel like the Shanahans was a hash team. Greg Williams would say we finna play hash football. They like to play outside the hashes. They like they running backs outside the hashes. They like they beside the slot. They like they wide receivers outside the hashes.
But one of the things you ask is what makes a good defense. I think what goes into what you were saying, because like you the guru. You play defense enough to and play for a different amount of coaches that allows you to really like have it more than understandable than all of us. We faced a lot of defenses, and regardless of how many different defenses I faced, I could never tell you what made them great. But I think the one thing that stood out to me watching good defenses, the ones that had a versatile front, meaning that these guys were so versatile where they was able to adapt, to adjust, to allow the guys in the second and the third level to play freely. See, if what you just talked about, the bend and not break, if my defensive front can set the tone and establish that line of scrimmage and play always in the backfield, now I don't have to cover on the back end as much.
Not that long.
The guys in the second can always fill into their lanes during a rundown. So I think, to me, when it comes to, and just my observation, my opinion about a good defense, when you have those guys up front, you establish that those guys can be versatile and be able to set the tone and the line of scrimmage. It allows everybody in the back end to play.
Just like you said, wide receivers kind of being a prisoner of the moment. If my offensive line don't do it and my quarterback don't throw me the ball, do that mean I'm not a good wide receiver? It's the same thing for us. Trench warfare starts everything.
Because I've been on them teams here with you where we didn't have nobody getting after the quarterback and y'all had to cover for too long.
5-6 seconds.
And I was sitting on the sideline like, boy, them boys out there covering forever. You know what I mean? So that shows you when you – and then you seen the defenses when we had Greg my first year here and you was gone. We was in everybody backfield. Those guys didn't have to cover nobody because they was setting the tone up front to the point to where, man, guess what? By the time you know it, that ball was coming out and you can make a play on the ball. You can be that corner, that lockdown,
you can be aggressive, and that's what I think better defenses unlock talent. They run schemes that allow the talent inside the defense to showcase themselves.
But the key thing is what you said. 2 things, both of y'all, being able to adjust. Every week is going to be somebody new.
Somebody different,
But if, like I said, if you got those guys up front, you ain't worried about what they got because they going to have to adjust the way you play.
I'm dictating
You playing in their backfield to make them speed everything up.
Yes, and that's what I wanted. I want to do this. I want everybody to know this about pro quarterbacks. All 32 can beat you with no pressure. Clean quarterbacks and quarterbacks looking DBs in the eyes is a beat DB.
Yeah.
All right, it's simple as that. Quarterbacks under duress make mistakes. All right, and this the defensive line and whatever blitz package you got.
Yeah, and there's definitely a symbiotic relationship where, like they play off each other, the defensive line and coverage groups. But I think the other thing, just to kind of, again, peel back the layers of why defense is so challenging is let's just take an offensive formation, right? It's 2x2.
Yep.
And we can play quarters coverage. So we've got a corner, a safety, and a corner, about 10 yards deep across the board, right?
Yep.
That's pretty straightforward because if those 4 receivers run vertical, it's going to play like man coverage.
Yep.
However, what if I get into a 3x1 as an offense?
Yep.
And I have 3 receivers to the right and 1 receiver to the left. I can't play straight quarters the same way anymore.
We're going to what they call push it.
Yeah.
We're going to lean towards the 3 wide receiver side.
Towards the strong side.
And we're going to single this corner backside and tell him you finna go man to man.
And so I guess that's what I'm alluding to there. It's a little bit more reactive to the offense.
Yeah.
And I think that reaction is what makes defense so challenging, right? Because you have to say, hey, we have cover 4 called. Let's say it's on first down, right? They might come out. We think they're going to come out with a tight end, a fullback, and a running back in 21 personnel, right? But let's say they come out and they're an empty, because that's what people are doing now.
Yeah.
How do we adjust our quarters call, or do we check to something different because empty?
Yep.
And that communication, that level of nuance is something that I think makes defense incredibly challenging. And like to your point, Fred, we got to find schemes, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later with the Legion of Boom, that fit the personnel that are presenting.
Yep, and most definitely.
And so the other thing I want to talk about here is like there's a schematic element to defense, and we've already alluded to this a little bit, but there's also a personnel element to defense, right? And I think back to obviously when like Sean Taylor was here and what he allows you to do as a defense because of his talent.
I tell you what he allows me to do as corner. I stopped running behind post routes. I did not have to play post routes and dig anymore.
So explain that.
All
So
right,
like when you're running a post,
a post route is, let's say, 10 to 15 yards, and they're literally going to the post, almost running right at the free safety.
Run to the near upright, basically.
Near upright.
Well, with a safety that's 6'4", 220 pounds, that's love to dish out violence, these receivers ain't trying to do that. All right, so now
You also had the speed to play over the top.
And I can say, and I know schematically they're gonna be like, all right, we're gonna try to attack them, but it'll be stupid for us to run post routes at Sean Taylor.
Not even post routes, in route, anything in cutting. Yeah, anything in
dig route, in route. It ain't healthy for my receiver.
Sean gave you the freedom to say, I'm going to be responsible for anything outside these hashes.
Yes.
And I'm going to punish them. If I'm going to be sitting either, depending on our defense. If they got me short, I'm jumping everything in there because I ain't got to worry about behind me because I got Sean back there.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting off man, I'm gonna worry about everything between 15 yards. So I ain't got to worry about him going deep because once he get by me, Sean gonna demolish him. So. That's what a Sean Taylor does to a cornerback like you.
He up to say, "Nah, I can play Jedi mind tricks with Santana."
He go sideline to sideline.
And I think just having a game record back there like that is extremely important because obviously it changes if you have just some scrub at safety.
It changes how they attack you. Period.
100%.
It changes their thought of how to address you on that side of the ball.
Same way with Ed Reed. You heard Belichick talk about it, man. Like he baits you to do the things that you already. Predetermined that we're not going to do this, but he telling you, nah, go ahead and do it. And let me see if I can get you to think I'm doing something else. So when you have guys of that caliber, and it's just not just those guys, you have other guys that play the position just as well as those two.
Yeah. But it's just an example.
When you have a guy like that, that's that much more helpful for a cornerback.
And you mix
and how he's covering
like that, and you mix it with down and distance.
Yeah.
Down and distance is everything to us. It's situational football. This is your difference between Tanner running a slant route on me and a dig route. Because if it's going to be anything over 7 yards, it's probably going to be a dig route, not even a slant route. I know how you're going to attack me by the formation you lined up. You talk about 3x1. If I'm on the backside of 3x1 and it's me and this wide receiver by ourselves and it's 3rd and 8, where you think they going? All right, they finna go back here if we got this window open. If they'll rather go against this 1-on-1 than this 3-on-4.
Yeah. Especially if you like the matchup offensively. Now, this is speaking from an offensive perspective. You get in that formation, you put Calvin Johnson out there, you put Julio Jones out there.
You want that matchup.
If you like the matchup, you say go eat. That's our best football player, right? If you don't like the matchup, or let's say they roll coverage defensively, right? We got to bracket Julio or Santana Moss, whoever it is. We got to bracket that guy. Now we get good numbers to the front side of the concept.
I'm going to say, now the tight end is finna be open because they pushing outside. Like, I tell you this, if you ever want to see somebody do 3x1 to the T, watch the Eli Manning giants. They put Plexico on the right side. Sure. That's why me and Plexico had all these battles. Sure. They would put everybody else, Jeremy Shockey and everybody else on the left. And when they came to the line, their check was any man-to-man defensive call, go to the one wide receiver side.
And win.
And win. Like, it was simple as that.
No, I think that's exactly right. And so I think, would it be fair to say, with regards to X's and O's versus Jimmy and Joe's, that the Jimmys and Joes make a defense come to life?
Oh, yeah.
Because you could put bodies out there, but it don't work unless you got the horses out there.
It won't work without a London Fletcher. It won't work, like they said, without a defensive line. It won't work without a corner that's not afraid to literally go out here and have a battle. Yeah. Like, it's a difference between some corners that they always try to play on the high side of things, like I'm just not going to give up no catches, knowing damn well we're going to give up some catches at one point. A battle is to be going back and forth with somebody. And if you will take on a battle one-on-one to say, I'm finna check this man for 60 plays, do you not think he's going to beat you out of those 60 plays?
Yeah. You're going to get beat.
You're going to get beat.
100%. And so I think, that we talk kind of generally high-level defense there, the 3 levels of the defense, the adaptive nature of the defense, how personnel elevates it. But Tana, is there a defense that you remember playing against being like, damn, this is a good group of football players?
And I played against a lot.
I know you have. That's why I thought I'd ask you.
I'm going to tell you the one that stands out to me in the league. And this thing, everybody adapted or tried to take on some kind of form of this. Because I remember when Herm came over to
Tampa.
Came over to the Jets from Tampa. Yeah. It was we used it.
Yeah.
Monty
Kiffin.
Tampa 2.
Tampa 2 defense. Bro, when I say Tampa 2, as a receiver, knowing that you have this shell already as a cover 2 shell, and then you say to myself, okay, I can't run nothing in here because I got a linebacker flaring out here.
Yeah.
I can't get over the middle because I got a linebacker dropping that deep.
Yeah.
I can't get on the outside because I got a safety that's covering and a guy underneath me. Yeah. Where you gonna go with the football? Like we had to have the LaDainian Thomasons, the Curtis Martins, because now they play an intricate role. Now they got to come out of the backfield to freeze their linebacker. Yeah. So now you can have something in the inside, maybe a curl route. You can open up that. You know what I mean? So that Tampa 2 defense and the style of play, man, it won a lot of Super Bowls. It took teams to championships because it made it hard for you to do anything.
So let's talk about Tampa 2 real quick. So Tampa 2 is just cover 2, right? There's 2 flat players that are usually the corners, right? Yeah. And they have different techniques. Sometimes they reround it, sometimes they carry, whatever it looks like, but they got it flat.
Yeah.
They got 2 safeties that usually stand just outside the hashes. They got half the field.
Yeah.
When you run straight cover 2 at the NFL level, people are going to eat against it. Because where's the weak spot? Right down the middle of the field.
Right down the middle of the field.
So what Tampa 2 does, they say, let's take this middle linebacker, your Brian Urlachers. I'm trying to think who else is a great Tampa 2 middle linebacker.
Derek Brooks, baby.
But he was the will. He was usually the will, which is extremely important in that defense. But the middle linebacker run down the middle of the field. And basically they would take anything vertically on a seam.
Yeah.
And basically you couldn't throw the ball because there's it's like cover 3, but you've got these corners kind of getting soft. Yeah. It's incredibly hard to throw the football to Tana's point. So that was presenting lots of issues. Yeah. Like the Miami, the U, that's the defense they ran in college. Vilma, that's a great example.
Perfection.
Yeah. So those guys were, that defense was tough. And I'm really glad you brought up Tana because I want to get Fred's answer, but we're going to talk about that in relationship to what Dan Quinn did in Seattle here in a second.
Yeah.
But what's the best defense you played in?
I played a ton of defense. Greg Williams defense.
And what made it good though? Like, cause like,
what was his style of defense? Like, what was his?
All right, one, we was hyper aggressive. We blitzed from the time we got off the bus till we left. He let us corners know we're gonna play some man to man. Yeah. But we also mixed that man to man with what they call gold coverage, and that gold coverage was take it back to the 2x2. I'm reading as a corner 2-1. Everybody think because I'm in front of Tanner, he might read.
So 2-1 means you're over the outside receiver, you're reading the inside receiver.
I'm reading the inside receiver.
Start him.
Any outside move from the inside receiver, I aggressively
So you're playing like a match.
We started the match.
That's crazy.
We started, but we called it gold coverage. All right, and in this gold coverage.
So if I did anything towards you, you got me.
I'm finna go. Not just got you. I get to attack you.
You attack me.
Let's just say y'all going vertical, and you got a 10-yard out route at the sticks.
Yeah.
I time I see your shoulder dip, I'm gone. Safety comes over top, gets number one. Okay. All right, let's just say double slants. That nickel gonna take you.
I watched y'all do that in practice against us a lot, too.
All the time.
And I used to hate that shit. I was like, why the hell he always picking me up?
And then every time we get into this, it was hard for people to beat us. They'll try to motion the third wide receiver over there, and that's when we'll just box it. Okay. Now we got 4 people playing 3. So it was hard for people to beat us.
You did that? When was this? What year was this?
It was 06.
06, 07,
It was 05 when we did it because I came back in 07.
So football nerds out there, just so you know why I'm so excited about it. Every single person in the league runs this defense now. And to think that this guy over here was in this
majored in it,
cutting edge match defense.
Majored in it. And then I left Greg and I went to Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
They run cover 2, right?
We ran cover 2, but we had the Williams brothers. We had Pat Wynn, Kevin Williams in the inside D tackle, so you couldn't double our D tackle. So that's why it made the rush neutral. And now I got to go from being a fully man-to-man corner to playing cover 2 with Antoine Winfield. So now I need to bulk up because I'm really a part of the run front.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to realize is a cover 2 corner. Anything on the outside, sweeps, toss, counters, you are responsible for that run game. So you got to be really into that run game. So, no, those two, playing for those masterminds right there really showed me a lot. You can succeed different ways.
Yeah. What's the defensive coordinator name for Dallas? Zimmer? Is that his name?
Yeah, Mike Zimmer.
So Mike Zimmer, I remember the first time I saw his third down blitz package, I thought, I can't play in the NFL. He's responsible for this double-A blitz package, all out. Yeah. So basically, because of the double-A and because of the overhang player weak, so it's basically 7 players on the line of scrimmage. Both linebackers and a nickel.
Everybody's flat.
Everybody's flat, and you don't know who's coming. And so it breaks protection rules because you can usually block 3 to a side, 3 players. But because of how he aligned, you'd always have 4 weak right away. So you'd always have to think about wrapping for protections and things like that.
But you don't know who coming and you
correct.
Don't know who.
And so he'd always keep the back in. He'd always then drop guys out that weren't, that you wouldn't expect. He'd get into throwing windows. They matched concepts really well. That defense was pretty sick, and we're probably going to see a version of that.
The thing about it is Dallas. He also was aligning net with that 7 across, usually with a blitz peel. Meaning, why are you blitzing? I want all of y'all blitzing, but if that if that running back veers,
you got to peel.
That outside linebacker, no, that's his man. Yeah. So that allows you to really hide a lot because we kind of responding off of y'all.
Yeah.
If you hold everybody in the block for the quarterback, here come all us. We're gonna go +1.
It's crazy. So there are some really cool, complicated defenses, and that's kind of again high level thoughts. Good defenses we played against. But I do think that one of the things that I'm excited to talk about, because Tana brought this up, is what made Dan Quinn successful. And let's start with his time in Seattle.
Yeah.
So when he was in Seattle, they played an 8-man box. So usually in Tampa 2, you play a 7-man box. So 40 linemen, 3 linebackers. Yeah. In the cover 3, they played an 8-man box. So one of the deficiencies about Tampa 2 is you need to make sure you have a great middle linebacker who can push the middle of the field. And you're light when it comes to run fits.
No, you got to have a great nickel in run day barber, a nickel that tackles, blitzes, and covers.
Right, but you're light in run fits. Because if I get out there in 12 personnel, we have 7 guys to fit 8 gaps. And so you're short a gap always. That's where the corners got to come in. So teams started running all this outside zone stuff and forcing corners to have to run fit, and that didn't go very well. So teams are getting run out the door. So what Dan did in Seattle is they got in this cover 3, which is an 8-man box, so they're +1 in the run game. And they always had a strong and weak overhang. So you could no longer run outside zone.
Yeah.
But the problem is you're now short in coverage.
Yeah.
Because we can attack seams.
Yeah.
What they did a great job of is they brought Cam Chancellor down the box. They brought that Sam linebacker down the box. And what they would do is they would reroute number 2 to the middle of the field, and they also had one of the best post safeties. We talked about
free safeties in the
free safeties in the NFL, right?
Yep.
Because that dude could cover so much grass. So you talk about Jimmy Joe's making it come alive.
Yeah.
What's his name? I'm totally forgetting his name right now. The safety.
Earl
Thomas. Yeah. He could cover anywhere. So we're forcing it to Earl Thomas.
Yeah.
You can't run the football, and we understand these are our weak spots, and we're going to force you to throw the football.
And by the way,
and with all that being said, they being very disruptive on the outside.
Yeah, I'm going to say these corners.
They in your face. They either going to jam you or make you think they're going to jam you and bail out to make sure that now, it was one of them things. I used to hate playing them because I'm like, you're prepared for one thing, And then as a receiver, you only got so much time to react.
Yeah.
And then you say, oh, I ain't getting jammed. Now I'm free. But now your defense, your offensive line
is in trouble.
Is bombarded with either a rush or just so many guys in the backfield. The ball got to go.
Yep.
So if you ain't in your route, it's a route.
And don't forget now, the corner they had now, Richard Sherman, 6'3" and a half.
And your boy
Brandon Browner. On the other side, 6'4" at the time. And they did that for fade routes. Like, he understood that long corners with long arms. Like, I rarely got beats on fades. Yeah. Because even if you had a step on me, you still got to drop it in the bucket, and my arms allowed me to go get the ball. Mm-hmm. Well, imagine a guy that's 6'3" and a half. Your fade route is absolute. Remember the plays. When you think Legion of Boom, what you think about Richard Sherman in the end zone with Michael Crabtree fade route? Yeah. You're not going to get it. Yeah. All of the it routes are like, why was people continuing to throw fades at these guys? Because it's the only thing that really keeping you out of traffic. Yeah. But it's also, he built this defense for these corners to play this every play.
I'm really glad you brought that up because it worked. Those tall corners worked in that defense because they didn't have to play true straight man-to-man.
They didn't have to play in routes.
They didn't have to play anything, right? Because that's where the hook player is. That's where Cam Chancellor is. That's where the Sam linebacker is because they were so good at dropping to spots. Yeah. And we talked about covering 53 yards of grass. Yes. And Bobby Wagner, all those guys. They were so good at getting to spots and covering grass. Yeah. And so they said, oh, you can throw the flat. Yeah. We're going to rally to it and tackle.
All of us.
And the other thing about Tampa too, with Miami and Tampa Bay and all these different teams is they had great pass rush. Dan understood that and said, we're not going to have to hold up forever because we've got a great pass rush. So basically we're going to be great on first and second down. Right? Mm-hmm. We're going to stop the run. Yep. It's going to be 3rd and 8.
Make you one-dimensional.
And now we're going to get our hockey team rotation pass rushers out there. Yeah. And we're going to let those guys eat because we're going to make sure you can't attack the seams and cover 3. Because think about it, that's the weakness. That's where the space is.
Most definitely.
Right?
You want to go full vertical. You want full vertical against cover 3.
And it was a nightmare to try to throw the football against them.
But it was so crazy, too, because, like, with all that said, how brutal it was for us when we went up to Seattle. We was manhandling them. That first quarter of the playoff game, we had him right in our hands. Like RG was because I think you can kind of give credit to just the fact that RG being an elusive quarterback made them do things a little differently. You see what I'm saying?
Well, it's perfect. Now you turn your back.
Yeah. Now you can't. Now you have to respect the run. Yeah. And not knowing that he's not as elusive because his leg in the big old brace, but you had to respect the run and the pass with him.
Well, we just talked about how they have an 8-man front. Yeah. If you have a quarterback, now you have 9 gaps to defend. Yeah. You're short, right? And that's what a running quarterback does from a run game is it makes you short, and that's what they did.
He shrinks a playbook. A running quarterback shrinks a playbook.
Defensively, you're saying?
Yeah, defensively.
Anytime we knew we were finna play a running quarterback, I already know in my head as a veteran cornerback, all right, we ain't running no man-to-man, so I can get that out of my head.
Yeah, you got to see him.
We have to.
Got to put eyes on him.
All 11 eyes at this quarterback. He paralyzes your defensive play call. Mm-hmm. So we used to get mad because why you calling cover 3? Just hands tied. My hands are tied. I can't do that against Cam Newton. Like it doesn't. I can't run man-to-man against Cam Newton. It ain't right.
Yeah. And so I think that was cover 3. And let me just say this. It goes back to that Jimmy and Joe thing. They had the dudes to run this defense. Yeah. Like Cam Chancellor could not play post safety, but he could carry a vertical. Yeah. Right? Thomas could cover. I remember watching a clip of Thomas before the playoff game of him breaking up a slant from the deep post. Remember that?
He was like a damn torpedo. He just threw his body around recklessly.
And he was very intelligent, very football savvy.
That's what I'm saying. He was a genius. Then KJ Wright was great. Was like kind of a defensive end linebacker. Bruce Irving, same type of thing. They could set a hard edge on a tight end or a tackle, force it back inside.
Chris Clemens rushing the pass.
And then the 2 cornerbacks, man, to their credit, like one of those guys probably has a gold jacket here coming up soon. Yep. But they knew how to play that defense really, really well. So, obviously success breeds, comparison. Yeah. Right? So everybody in the league tries to copy him. Yeah. So, people go to Jacksonville, and then everyone's trying to run Seattle cover 3. The problem is everyone knows how to beat cover 3. And if you don't have the horses to get it done,
you gotta have a personnel.
You're gonna look silly.
And when he say beats cover 3, every coverage has a weakness.
Talk about it.
Every coverage has a weakness, and it's up to us to know where the weakness is, to know where to rally. That's what we call our rally point.
Yeah.
Like He said in cover 3, you can try to hit them seams. You got to realize, but them seams got to be thrown in this window.
Right in that window.
And it got to be thrown at the linebacker's head.
Inside, got to be thrown on the line, on the rope.
It got to be thrown on the B line.
Yeah.
Well, most quarterbacks, they want to try to put air under that ball. Yeah. And that's when you see Earl Thomas or Cam Chandler decapitate somebody because they done threw the ball up there. And we looking for those rally points. Cover 2, like you said, they're going to try to attack the outside. This y'all rally point on that one. Cover 4. Cover 4 is one of those things.
You're playing light box. It's a good coverage, but your edges are soft.
Your edges are soft. And once y'all start to run deep crossing routes and stuff, it can get muddy in there.
Yeah, so I think it's about attacking defense. So the league knew how to attack cover 3. Yeah, basically
they know how to attack every coverage in some form
and
fashion.
So without the personnel in Jacksonville, without the pass rush, which you talked about a ton, and without those coverage players in the back end, people started to exploit it. Yeah. So what does Dan do? He evolves.
He switched it up. He grew.
And you know what's wild, Tana? What? Is he evolves back. So he evolves back to Tampa 2. So when you look at him leaving Atlanta, because he was still trying to do the same stuff, so they got really man-heavy, they didn't have the personnel, goes to Dallas. Tampa 2, cover 3, man-to-man is what they run.
And 2-man under.
Yeah, but I'm saying
tons.
That's what they start doing. Yeah. And they do enough. You know, everyone kind of went to this match coverage, He says, no, we're going to go back to the basics. Yeah. Which I think is brilliant because he can disguise his man to look like Tampa 2. You can disguise his Tampa 2 to look like cover 3. And so, Tana, you always talk about this and talk about it for a second about how hard it is for a receiver to say, oh, I think it's man, but it's actually Tampa 2. Yeah. Or it's man, but it's cover 3.
I mean, you got to understand, we all have a clock. And that clock on the outside, that's why when you watching these kids training now with these coaches in the offseason and they doing all these routes.
Triple routes.
They stepping back and doing all with their feet. That's all fine and dandy. It looks good for the Instagram. Yeah. But in the heat of the battle,
it don't work.
You got a clock and you want to be at your spot when that quarterback is ready to throw that ball. So,
preach.
You know, you got a chance to look. Like I used to always tell folks, like I just told this to one of the kids down the Legend Camp in Miami. He asked me, like, what it is about, you know, what did I see that gave me advantages of, you know, coverages or corners? I'm like, I didn't care about who I was going against. I just knew how to read coverages. I knew if I had cover 2 on my side, I knew if I had 4, I knew if I had some kind of man, I knew if I had 3. And I said, it all started at the safety. I would look at the safety on my side, I said, okay, he down. So that means that other safety's going to probably be in the middle of the field, or that's a pre-snap read I'm reading, or at the hike of the ball, he gonna show me something, then get back.
Rock and roll is.
But I got nothing. But I got a clock on me, so I got seconds to learn this or see this. And within that, I still have my route, so I can't worry about what happens. I'm gonna just eliminate myself as the route going on. So I'm running my route. I'm not worried about where he's running to. I'm just going to run off the way that cornerback is playing me. So if I see the cornerback not playing aggressive because of what I read before and he's off me, now I know I have a chance. Or if I see that he's aggressive, he done came down, now I know I have to adjust and get to the outside because now that guy has showed me a different look and now he's probably in cover 2. So all that stuff is like within timing, and you can't eliminate yourself. You still have to run your route, you know, carry out your assignment.
Because you got to open up a window for somebody else.
Bingo. I was just going to say, but if you're not the guy, you got to be the decoy and make sure somebody else is pretty much getting open.
And from an offensive perspective, like decoy is probably the wrong word, but you got to distribute the coverage.
Yeah.
You got to bend the zone.
Right.
Bend the zone.
Like that.
And use our rules against us.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you really want to beat cover 2, I could go 3 by run double post at it and kill it every time if I wanted to, because I can create a wonder. I know where the wonder is at. Yeah. And I know how teams used to attack me. Cover 2 is good. That's why I always say, like, I like it when teams, and I seen Coach Quinn do this a lot in Dallas, where they would, in inopportune times, play 2-man under. Like, when I said, I always thought 2-man under was the hardest to beat, because if y'all remember Pat Surtain Sr. and Sam Madison and Jason Taylor and them boys in Miami and them Dolphins running that 2-man under, they dominate the league for about 4 or 5 years doing
perfection.
It. And they was doing it against running quarterbacks where people wouldn't dare do it.
And I had to see that twice a year when my first 4 5 years.
Tell me, how was that going against Surtain and Sam Madison playing 2-man under, knowing you beating them with speed, but speed speed don't help you in this.
It was crazy because back then I was too naive to even understand what they was doing.
Yeah.
I knew they was good.
Yeah.
But you got to think, I was so fast in them years and so young.
So I'm just going to outrun them.
I was outrunning them most of the time. But you got to understand, one of the things that was good about when you have that 2-man under, depending on how long you want to be underneath me.
Yeah.
Like if you don't get underneath me immediately, like this, I've always seen the older veteran quarterbacks take these shots more so than the young guys, especially if they're confident in their arm. We're going to hit that honey hole.
Yeah, but you know that window that big.
It's that big. But depending on how slow your safety is, you saw. So prime example, everybody hear me talk about the games that I appreciated here and blah, blah, blah. I talk about that Jacksonville game. That was a honey hole shot.
Yeah.
Now, what was crazy is that Mark Brunell didn't care. He had balls of steel.
Now, Mark was a veteran quarterback you're talking about.
Veteran quarterback. He was sitting so deep. Mark said by the time he look up for the ball, it's going to be there. If you watch that play in Jacksonville and in that overtime game, the safety was already coming down B lineman, Deion Grant, and the damn corner was running with me trailing, but he didn't have the dignity to look. He didn't have the sense to look back.
Rasheed Mathis.
So by the time I jumped and attacked the ball, because I'm attacking it because I see the safety, I'm like, man, I'm finna get killed, but I got to go for it because, Mark got an opportunity.
Yeah.
I just went for it, but get back to the question of how difficult it was playing the Dolphins like that. We had those moments where Vinny Testaverde would tell me, hey, don't fall asleep back there. I'm gonna give you a shot. Mm-hmm. So when they play that, you have to make them stay true to what they got.
Yeah.
Because now that corner gonna try to put his hand in there and look back as he running.
Yeah.
Which would now open up other things. You know what I'm saying? If they in that coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like that is something that I think is really interesting to kind of talk about. Is like. You didn't know, but the quarterback knew what coverage it was.
He knew,
and you were able to run your route accordingly. He's able to get you the ball. Mm-hmm. The thing that I see when I watch Dallas's defense from last year is they think they know the coverage. I remember watching the game in 2022 with Taylor Heineke playing quarterback, and it looks like man. So you got your man beater on. He's working his man beating side. They rolled a cover to Tampa 2, and it's dead because everyone's just standing in throwing windows.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, shoot. And that gets him to pump the ball, and then they have
boom.
They have a good enough pass rush.
Corners are never under distress. What did I tell you? When you watch Dallas play, their corners never look distressed. All right, that means I ain't got nothing to worry about.
Because one up front, they're making it easier.
They finna go get.
The scheme is one, and
they
then the guys
protecting
up
me
front.
with coverage.
Yeah, bingo.
And I think you said this already, but like when you watch, again, Dallas, when you watch Seattle, when you watch LA when they were rolling, the coverage is matched to the rush, 100% of the time.
Married.
And Joe Witt and Dan are able to do such a good job in Dallas of being like, hey, let's get this rotation, let's disguise it so we can help the rush.
Yeah.
And here we're going to be in this man situation. We're going to bring an extra rusher to help the coverage, and they just understand how to call that game at such a high level. But I do think the evolution from straight cover 3 to this version of the defense is really interesting.
And I think they do a great job adapting to the quarterback they are playing. Mm-hmm. They play quarterbacks different.
Yeah.
They play a veteran, know-it-all with a gas totally different than the guy that I'm just happy to be here, got here, and I'm trying to figure it out myself. So we ask, is it the scheme or is it the Jimmy Joes? Like everything in life, it's just a mixture of both.
Also, I think this is something else that Tanner can speak to too, because he's been in offenses like this. They do a really good job of being like, these are our 4 calls. Mm-hmm. And these are our rules in all these 4 calls. So let's say we get in a bad look. We don't need to freak out. We've run cover 3 versus this. We've run our 2.
We didn't seen it.
We've run Tampa 2 versus this. There's no reason to freak out. We just got to get it communicated. As opposed to some of these match teams, which they have a check for everything.
Yeah.
Because it has to be 100% right to get everything. So and no one can play fast.
And that's why they do a lot of rub routes. And that's why they do a lot of front end motion. Yeah. Like I'm finna do the whip motion with Deebo Samuels just to see how you react to it.
Or not even just the whip motion, just getting the ball into those playmakers' hands now. Like instead of us going down the field with this ball, I'd rather run things up at them and get a guy to take a couple of steps up and give him
the spot,
get him a hitch or get him a now ball, so we can get those yards and get them to change what they're trying to do to us. Because prime example, you just talked about the Taylor Heineke seeing one thing and then thinking that he saw that you don't want to get in that guessing game, especially if you don't feel like you got a quarterback that can decipher that.
They're going to guess right.
So now what you do now is say, I'm going to get these running backs out the backfield, get them into some of these lanes that can suck up some of this coverage, and then get the guys behind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's why they do the wheel route. That's why the wheel routes are different. I mean, deadly. That's why they're doing a lot of those inside fade routes.
We kind of alluded to it. One of the things that I loved about the high-low passing game, depending on what you're in. So if I got a corner that he's playing me, he's in between. Mm-hmm. He's not showing me is he going to be high or low. Now I got this guy in the slot that's going to say, okay, depending on what he do, we can throw in a hitch or we can throw in this corner behind him. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I remember being in a part of the West Coast in New York where we wanted to see New England be like that. New England would play that off as two, but we so deep as a corner, tend to just run a hitch, run that 5-yard hitch on the outside,
and wait,
and boom, he gonna hit me. Now if he see that hitch and he strike up there trying to get me, you got this corner forming right behind that cornerback, and boom, you can hit him. So, and you don't just do it in those different coverages, but it just was one of those things that we did to kind of get you to stay true to what you're doing and show us something now. Don't sit and wait, because if you sit and try to dilly-dally with it, we're going to take advantage of that hitch now.
All right, so with all that being said about the defense and the evolution of defense, specifically this Dan Quinn, Joe Witt defense, what's the expectation for him here? Like, I have thoughts on this, but I'm curious to hear what
defense starts faster than any other side of the ball. I expect for them to hit the ground rolling. They got 3 interior, the 2 guys we had plus drafted 1. We brought in edge rushers. Right now, people got our linebackers is a top 5 group. Yeah. And the only people that can benefit that is them defensive backs. I expect for them to start a lot faster than the offense.
I was going to say I expect our cornerback play to be a huge upgrade. Even up front, I think with some of the guys that we already have, and Payne and Allen coming back, then and having what you call the guy Bridgeway,
and Newton,
coming back, and then you add the new guys. It's going to be to me interesting to see how, like he just said, he expected them to play faster or I guess you could say turn the curve on defense quicker than our offense. I believe so too. I think our defense automatically coming to this season dominant.
How we felt last year. You know how we felt last year? Like, hey, the defense should be so and so. I really do feel this with nobody saying it.
Because I just feel like we gotten so much better at linebacker. Alone, and then you got the way they play the game. How disruptive they are, how aggressive they are. Mm-hmm. That's just going to only raise everybody antennas on the offensive side to be quicker. And then now you know what Joe Witt told us, how he get those cornerbacks to be ready for because now they got to play off those guys up front. Hey, he's going to set the tone for you. So be ready for that ball. That ball got to come out right now. You know what I'm saying? So now the cornerback play is going to be a huge upgrade.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I also think like you're going to see a version of what they did in Dallas, but I think it's going to kind of modify to what they did with the personnel here. And I think they've done a good job of bringing in. The other thing about Dallas's defense, and again, we're talking about Dallas's defense a lot because that's the point of comparison, but they did an awesome job of basically playing positionless football. Much like there's positionless basketball. Like we're out there in nickel, we're out there in dime. We've got
linebackers can be safeties, and safeties can be ends.
And we've got those people that can match up with the speed, right, of the passing game at the NFL level. So I think that's what you'll see. I mean, you mentioned some of the personnel, which is exciting, but I don't know. I'm excited to see I think Joe Witt a couple of days ago said that they have 17 starters on defense. They have a nickel, they have a dime, they have sub rushers, they have different safety packages. And so kind of maximizing those guys, and then kind of I'm curious to see, because everywhere an offensive scheme goes, Kyle Shanahan is like the start of this tree.
Yeah, but it's still tweaked.
It's tweaked. And so what is the tweak for this system here?
I think the tweak for this system compared to Dallas is they was dominant with Lawrence and
Michael Parsons.
Michael Parsons is outside rushers. I think they're going to do it here and want you to think it's inside dominated, but it's still going to be outside dominated. He just knows, because of the depth we have inside, you're going to rather go check A, B gap before you check C, because let's not act like we got a Michael Parsons on this team.
Do you think, looking back at Dallas last year, just seeing that they had to play like that young kid at
Marquise
linebacker.
Bell.
I think we have a huge upgrade here linebacker-wise.
Oh, yeah, we do.
I think our linebacker core already is better than what they had last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they had Vander.
No, we better as a group. They got one star. We better as a group.
Yeah, we have a group of guys.
Yeah.
So I think we're a little more potent there. I think what they're heavier, they're top heavier in the D-line position when it comes to the pass rush.
The edge rushers.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So, but I think our interior is
better
than anybody's. Right
our
now.
linebackers as a group is better than theirs. They'll probably say Bland and Diggs are better corner pair.
Yeah.
But guess what? Our coaches made them.
I was going to say.
All right, made them.
Yeah, made them.
And I know Zim. The one thing about Mike Zimmerman, he believe in leaving corners out there by themselves.
Yeah,
so we're going to see how this fares, because the one thing we knew before Diggs got hurt, he had 9 interceptions, but he also gave up the most yards as a corner.
in the league.
Yeah.
So it's a give and a take there. But Bland actually didn't give up the most. He gave up a lot of yards
he
too.
gave a lot of yards.
But you see, they're willing to say, we'll take the game-changing play.
Yeah.
Instead of sit back and get punched in the face.
Because of that composition, the difference in composition in terms of defensive line, do you think they blitz a little bit more? I mean, they blitz a fair amount in Dallas, but do you think they blitz more
I
here?
think they blitz a little bit more because of our linebackers, because of the speed of Jamie Davis, because of Frankie Louvu. I think they want to say, where's Waldo at all time? They want you to figure out who is Waldo on our defense.
Yeah, so I think that leads us nicely into the next segment, which is how do our guys fit? You kind of talked about it a little bit with Frankie Louvu, his ability to rush the passer. Again, in Dallas, they used Van Der Esch, they used Micah Parsons, they used Anthony Barr.
Yeah.
In certain situations, they become pass rushers.
Yeah.
And those are pass rushers that could win one-on-one versus offensive linemen and make protection calls hard
for you to do.
Yeah, so that's one element, obviously. Duran and John. I think
it's just perfect for them.
Yeah.
Because they have been here. Y'all first rounders, go do it.
Yeah.
Now they finna be doing all these stunts. They're going to be freeing them up on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think John and Payne they're gonna be like, this is refreshing to me.
Yeah.
I think this is gonna really invigorate their career, because they probably ain't never gonna have nobody that did it. And Forbes, I know for a fact, because I've talked to Joe Wick about him too, is if you look at Bland film, Diggs film coming out of college, and you look at Forbes' film, and I know how Coach Witt think from his time with Al Harris and Green Bay and Charles Woodson, letting them be ball out. Yeah. He loved offensive-minded cornerbacks. Mm-hmm. And
aggressive.
Yeah, very. And I think my guy has the ball skills in Forbes to flourish under this thing.
Yeah.
Get his confidence all the way back and flourish under this thing.
No, I'm with you on that. I think I'm really excited to see what Forbes does. I'm also excited to see what Benjamin St. Juste looks like. Quan is a guy that I think is going to be really interesting, because we talked about the positionless stuff. Quan last year played linebacker, played nickel, played safety, and did a pretty good job at all three spots.
And played corner too.
Yeah, and I think having a guy that can bring that skill set, what is Quan? I remember playing at Green Bay Packers, this is a couple years ago, probably 2013. And, they would come out and match 12 personnel, so 2 tight ends and a running back, in dime. And I remember being out there trying to target runs, and you're like, is that the safety? Is that the nickel?
Was it Nick Collins at the time?
I think so. And is that the corner? How do we target the run? And so just that ability to kind of put offenses in consternation.
Jeremy Chin.
With Jeremy Chin's a great example. Dominic Hampton, that big dime kind of guy.
Yeah. Think about how they played Curse last year.
Yeah, I think it's the same way, right, with that dime roll. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of really cool opportunities, to kind of see to maximize these skill sets. And then, again, I think you're going to see a similar coverage structure at the beginning. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think they find their legs and they find their identity. They say, hey, man, we ran a lot more man in Dallas, but we're actually a little bit more comfortable in Tampa too. Yeah. Or whatever that looks like.
Yeah, because he got to fill out the group. Yeah. And I think because these linebackers are so enticing, it's going to let him blitz a lot more. The question is it going to be man blitzing or zone blitzing? Yeah. I think it'll be zone blitzing.
Yeah, I think that's right. And so, Tanner, you excited?
Very excited, man. Yeah. I told you I've been wanting to see us play on that level or have that style of play that I've seen guys of that nature, like Dallas. I mean, I was mad sitting there watching us, can't basically, compete. Those guys are just on the other side of the ball, and I've been waiting for us to, because I feel like we had the players. You have so much talent around you, and you just don't see the same type of play. So The coaching staff in here now.
Either way, we're excited based on the evolution of the defense because it's cool when teams and coaches evolve their philosophy to fit what the NFL is doing. Excited to see how they utilize players because they have history doing that well. Excited to see them maximize these corners because there's a history of that as well. But really can't wait to see when the pads come on during training camp and see how all of this history, all of this analysis, all of this great defensive insight comes together for this group. But I think that's going to do it for today's show. Please make sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And that's it.